Hey everyone, Steve here, and in this video I'll be taking a look at the Hori Fighting Stick EX2. This is an arcade stick officially licensed for the Xbox 360. Now, the stick actually isn't in this box, which is why I'm waving it around so light and easily. On the front of the box here, you can see that we've got a picture of the stick. It is a 6-button layout, officially licensed from Microsoft by Hori. And I think is one of the most common sticks for this era. It is a nice entry-level stick, and we'll see why later on. Essentially, taking a look around the box, this seems to be the perfect controller for people wanting to get into arcade sticks during the Xbox 360 PS3 era. There was a comparable stick for the PlayStation 3. I think it's the Hori FS3. But if you see pictures of the Hori FS3 for the PlayStation 3 online, you'll see that it has 8 buttons, so it's quite interesting that this one is limited to only 6, at least in the main control panel area. We have the layout on the back here in all different languages. This seemingly is a PAL release for this version. This box is pretty beat up. I got this from a secondhand store here in Australia, but let's actually take a look at the stick itself. And here it is, the Hori Fighting Stick EX2. Now, as you can see here, it's got a nice white case. Basically looks like the normal Xbox 360 controller in terms of the white and green motifs. In real life, this case is not super bright white, but a little more gray, but it's still pretty nice and clean. We've got our ball top joystick here with a nice green ball top. Here is a switch sound test. And in terms of our main 6 action buttons that we have on this control panel, on the top row from left to right, we have B, X, and Y. And on the bottom row, A, LT, and RT. A, B, X, and Y are nice and colored to match the Xbox control scheme, but the layout itself is actually a bit weird. You've got basically what is a 4-button layout, like a Neo Geo kind of style here, where if you're playing 4-button games that have this sort of arced layout, basically the only one that comes to mind for me is the Soul Calibur series. I don't really know that many other 4-button games too well. So if I was playing Tekken, I'd have to do the button mappings to make these the main 4 instead of the 4 in this arc here. It's also an interesting choice to have left trigger and right trigger as the remaining 2 buttons out of the 6 and not LB and RB. But yeah, that is the button layout for this stick. The control panel artwork itself is pretty simple. You've just got a white gradient going into a bit of green with some streaks down the bottom and the logo for Fighting Stick EX2. In the bottom of the case here, we have an inset Hori logo, and right below that, we have a little weird bump, which is for the Xbox 360 headset adapter. Like, I don't think I've ever used this on either a controller or any other peripherals because I wasn't really into Xbox Live during that era, although I think the majority of people were. Taking a look at the bottom of the stick, you can see it's just got a nice bottom metal plate and your normal sticker here talking about the model number Fighting Stick EX2 made by Hori with a model number UXH3-07. Now I'm just going to plug this into my Windows 10 PC and see what pops up in the game controller tool and just have a bit of a playtest. So plugging it into a Windows 10 PC, the computer sees this as an arcade stick, and then in brackets it calls it the Fighting Stick EX2, so it seems like it's, natively compatible, which is kind of expected. And here we are. So you've got a D-pad, aka the points of view hat, up, down, left, right. Then in terms of these buttons, button 2, button 1, 3, 4, 9 and 10 here, start, right bumper, back, left bumper, and I'm not going to press home because it's just going to bring up like the Windows Microsoft Gaming overlay, which I'm sure a few of you know about and is kind of annoying. So yeah, nice 6 buttons. Now time for the classic Street Fighter test. So I have loaded up Street Fighter the 30th Anniversary Collection. I moved the joystick and it immediately recognized it as an Xbox controller, so that's great. Now I don't think the button mappings are going to be correct even with the default settings, so let me just do that for this controller. Can never go wrong with a bit of third strike. I might just go with Ken this time instead of my normal Akuma, just so everyone that watches all these videos doesn't get completely bored. Not that I'm better with Ken or even good at this game in general. Whoa, nice. Oh, he parried, not me. I am playing with this at a weird angle just so I can get it nicely for the camera, but it does feel comfortable. And I like having the 6 buttons because you're never going to press anything that's not relevant to the game. I actually want to pause for a second to talk about this button layout. As you can see, it isn't a Vuelich style layout where these 4 are in a line, but it does have a nice natural arc to it, so I quite like that. Great. playing a bit of flowchart Ken. I gotta say, it's quite comfortable, you know. I like the 6 buttons. It's really making me feel confident, at least in Street Fighter, and I don't have too much space on either side where I'm not doing anything, like even with my hands, like it's nice and compact. Oh, did I lose? Oh man. Okay, good test, good test. One thing I forgot to mention was that the cable for the controller is actually your normal breakaway Xbox 360 cable. So, you know, it's detachable, and if you have a whole bunch of these lying around, then that's something useful to know as well. But now it's time to take it apart and see what's inside. Now, there are a lot of mod videos of this stick online, but just for reference and in my own style, let's see what's inside. Now, some of you may know that when you are disassembling an arcade stick, especially one with a ball top, you're going to need to find a way to make sure that that ball top stays protected and to keep it off the desk. As you can see here, I've got 2 5-kilogram dumbbells because I'm a pretty strong man. Just kidding. Anyways, I'm just gonna rest the arcade stick on top of these like that, and it gives me a nice platform, and the ball top is nice and clear of the desk and won't scratch. So I can see we have 6 Phillips head screws around the bottom plate. So I got this stick for cheap, and even if it's not the most premium stick with the most highest end quality components, I do think it makes a pretty good stick to mod. Having said that, once we take a look inside, we'll probably see our biggest issue with modding this stick. And as you can see here, these buttons are soldered to the PCB. Now, I haven't spoken to the quality and feel of the components yet, but basically they feel alright. They don't feel as like snappy and responsive and kind of light as genuine Sanwa parts, because I'm pretty sure these are the Hori knockoffs. That's totally fine, you know. This was a budget stick for the time, and even now, compared to used premium arcade sticks, this stick can be found for relatively cheap. But we see here we have a nice big support for the structure of the case. You've got your main PCB here, little breakout boards for the controls at the top, a breakout board for these 4 buttons, 2 buttons soldered onto here, nice glue everywhere, sticking everything together, and you've got your joystick there. So this is actually a Microsoft chip, so whether or not that's just the normal controller module, the space for a chip here that doesn't actually have anything on it, that's interesting. Maybe it uses the same PCB as the PlayStation one. And your joystick here, I think, is just connected with terminal connectors and not soldered on. But yes, the main problem is that we have these buttons that are soldered on. And I'm actually planning to do a mod video on this stick in the future, and that'll involve desoldering and replacing components and all that kind of stuff. And I'll have to see what system I want to use this with, or whether or not I want to keep this original board. This big support post is probably going to be in the way. You know, it's right below where your palm would rest, I guess, so they don't want it to flex at all there, so that's pretty nice. You can see under here that there is a metal plate. Here is as solid of a shot I can get of the whole entire insides. It does seem like a nice stick to mod if you were going to replace everything, which essentially just means it's a nice case to have, but you might be able to use these parts again for something else. I might just remove this bottom plate / square restrictor gate and see what we're working with. Quite a long screw there. Okay, so it turns out that wasn't just a screw for the plate, but the whole actual assembly itself. So I guess I could take it out right now, but on the PCB side, it's all glued, if you can see all that here. So I'd have to find a way to do these. If these are quick disconnects, I will take it out right now. Let's just test that out. This switch is actually pretty loose. I don't know if it's meant to be like that. Oh, I think the screws hold them in place, the screws that I've removed. I'm going to remove the ball top. I guess this is a disassembly video now. So just putting a flathead bit here in the bottom of the shaft so I can untwist the ball top. So I've removed the ball top and the dust washer, and I should be able to pull this stick out right now. Okay, so I have the feeling that these are actually soldered on. I guess because they have heat shrink on it, that probably is a good indication that they are. So I'm going to need to find a way to unclip this bottom gate. There we are. Just put your screwdriver under it. Okay, it takes a bit of work, but you do have to kind of pry 3 of the sides off at the same time. But as you can see, it basically all falls apart, and you've got your micro switches here, which are soldered on. I think I'm just going to disassemble this stick as best I can now and kind of keep all the parts in a box, which I guess means goodbye to the Hori EX2 as it was. Okay, so here is the actual main stick mechanism itself with your actuator and your spring. I really don't know too much about the inner workings of arcade sticks, but you know, if we do this enough times, we'll figure it out together. But yes, as I was saying, we've now got basically our joystick disassembled. I don't know what to do about these switches. This is the switch that's in the joystick itself. I don't know what brand that is. The annoying part is definitely that it's all hot glued in there, so if we wanted to reuse this, I need to make sure I get a good shot of how everything's plugged in. I guess the good thing is that the USB cable seems to be just a plug here. I don't know if this plug is soldered in. I guess we're gonna find out. I can't feel any glue on the bottom side of this plug, so that's good. Well, it does seem like this plug is soldered in as well. Oh my god, everything here is soldered together, which I guess saves on like screws and assembly and all that kind of stuff. If you love hacking things apart, this is the perfect stick for you because it's going to be hard to put back together. So now, because I'm going to have to figure out which switch goes to where or what direction, I don't think I'm going to put this stick back together, and I'm just going to snip the wires here. So that was the end of the Hori Fighting Stick EX2. Okay, so time to do a little snip snip. And now I have a bunch of switches and wires. And here's a nice close look at the switch. Okay, you might have seen me try and figure out how to disconnect this, but I think given I'm not going to really use this board, and it'll be easy enough to go back and figure out, based on this footage, how everything was wired up if I ever wanted to use this, you know, authentic, quote unquote, Xbox controller board. So I'm just going to snip it. Anyone want a USB cable? So I've just put the bottom of the case back on, and now this is a completely non-functional arcade stick, but is a nice fidget toy for a little kid or something. But consider this the first part to a mod video. And just for fun, I'm going to reassemble the joystick. Okay, so I realized that I won't be able to screw this back together because the screw here kind of mates with, I guess, some screw posts in there, which is totally fine. I'm just going to tape the bottom so the screws don't fall out. Okay, I think that's taped up enough. It looks like something you would find at the bottom of a garbage pile, but there we are. Nice Hori Fighting Stick EX2 joystick assembly. And here is the body. So that'll do it for this video looking at the Hori Fighting Stick EX2. Usually reviews don't end up with the thing itself disassembled and not able to be put back together, but there we are. This is a nice stick as it is if you want to get into arcade sticks, and you can find one for a decent price on the secondhand market. There are of course many more options. This came out what, like 15 years ago or something like that. But also if you are a modder and you want to take on a project that isn't just going to be plug and play, but you can kind of get your hands dirty with all the aspects of modding into, then I think this will make a good base, and this is something I plan to do and document as well in a later video. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. There's a lot more to see on my channel, so please be sure to check it out. And if you enjoyed the video, it would be great if you could like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.